honestly think we might want to just start, like, literally just starting the podcast as soon as we all join, because we put more quality content into the pre-talk than we do the actual podcast half of the time.
Yeah, we could probably do that.
I actually asked Janelle, I'm like, do you want to, like, surprise everybody and just get all the co-hosts together in one show? And she's like, no, I got stuff I gotta take care of. And I was like, oh, but
I don't know. Maybe sometime this summer we could get together and just do like a podcast on the water while we're fishing.
Dude, I fully plan on getting together at some point. We're gonna be
go up your way, Jesse.
I don't know what your plan for Salem is. Are you camping, or are you just gonna drive up for the day?
I'll probably just drive up the day before.
So, because I'm probably gonna get a campsite at Brighton.
Yeah, I mean Salem for me is only like, I don't know, 30 minutes if that.
Yeah, it's 3 hours for me.
It takes me about 20 minutes to get to Pensioner, and then another 10 minutes to get to Salem. So
right. So we have all gotten to fish now, so we actually can talk about a little bit of fishing at least. Finally,
man. Today was a good day.
Yeah, you had some pretty. What was the biggest that you got today?
18 3/4.
Nice.
And that was my first fish of the day, and that was on the that Zal Dangerous loaded swim bait.
I fucking hate that bait.
She choked it. Just slow crawling it on the bottom. And I didn't even really feel a bite. It just tensed up on me, and I just kept reeling and loading down on it and set the hook, and she came up.
How did you get the goddamn line through that bait?
You got to watch Chris's video on it. Like, he explains the whole process behind it, and you almost have to use your finger and stick it in the slot there, and as you're feeding the line through to help guide it.
I like the idea of it. I have one. I literally ripped it trying to get the damn line through it. It's such a pain in the butt that I was like, I like the idea of it, but
Sonia says that you could stay here the night before Salem.
Okay.
I didn't even think about that.
That would be cheaper at least.
Yeah.
Chris, how many did you end up getting that day you went out?
So when I went out on Tuesday, I got 2. That was a 18 1/4 and a 17 3/4. And then today I got
audio. Hold on, guys. My audio cut out.
We're still here.
What just happened to my sound?
Why is your sound crapping?
Rutland.
Heck. Hold on.
That was like me a couple weeks ago.
My audio completely cut out, guys. So if you can hear me, I'm gonna.
We hear you.
For a second.
Yep, we hear you. Can you hear me now?
I know what happened.
Right.
There we go. All right. Yeah, dude, that was weird. It sounded like you guys were talking to me through like a tin can. It was like Charlie. It was like Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah. I was like, what in the fuck is going on? So you got on a couple, Chris. Like, was it just smallies, or did you get on?
Myself, just smallies and big perch, slab perch, like 13.5 to 114.
Jesus.
But all the smallies weren't much bigger than the perch, actually.
The perch have been aggressive already in the spray.
Yeah.
Like, I've had them chasing like jerk baits and shit. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? I'm throwing a perch Vision 110, and they're chasing it. I'm like, dude, it's bigger than you and you. Why are you trying to eat it? Yeah, they
don't care.
They're the dumbest species.
Have you guys seen? So, Ben Milliken put out a video. He was out hunting big smallmouth down south. I want to say he was in Arizona, and he's throwing his 9-inch glide bait there, and he was smoking like 7-8 pound smallmouth like it was nothing.
Yep.
And so they have no chill. They will absolutely. I mean, come on, they're mean as hell anyways. So they'll go after whatever the hell they want.
Right.
Smallmouth are stupid aggressive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was smacking them pretty good today. I got on the water probably about 9:30. Got to my spot about 20 minutes to 10, and it was like 3 casts later, and I had the first one on, and then a few more casts, got a short strike, and then nothing for a little while. So I switched out some baits, and then finally started throwing the blade bait and just slow hopping it off the bottom
Yeah.
and giving it pauses for a couple of seconds and then hopping again, and they just were cracking it. And so I got 5 of them on the blade bait.
I would have more fish if I would stop screwing with the forward-facing sonar and just
Yeah.
fish.
Hey, you're learning.
Dude, it's I actually had to turn it off. So I went out the first day I had a good day, I got 5.
Mhm.
And I got on my first one on a swim jig. So at that point, I should have just turned the damn fish finder off.
Right.
Because it's not like you're gonna forward facing sonar swim jig. Like what? Why?
Not where you were.
Yeah, exactly. And Chris knows exactly where I am. Like there's literally no reason to use it in that because I'm in 4 feet of water. I could jump out and kick the fish. I don't need to see him on the technology.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you would need forward facing for anything shallower than 10 feet.
You'd be surprised from what I've been learning from it. But
Yeah.
what's happening is like I'm leaving it on because I just want to see what stuff looks like while I'm fishing and trying to learn how to use it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
what's happening is I'm spending more time trying to figure out how to cast and keep the bait in front of it than I am actually paying attention to fishing. And that's something that I'm not going to get into the whole like debate of whether people like it or
Yeah,
not.
and
If you
that's why
don't, as a matter of fact, do me a favor, have that argument in my content because down in
Yeah.
the comments because it'll just make this video be viewed more. But what I am learning is that you need to put it into your. Me and Chris were talking about this earlier. You need to figure out how to make it beneficial but fit your way of fishing because
Yep.
what I've found is like I was like cranking with it and like using a swim jig with it and crap just because I was just like, you know what? I just want to see what a bait looks like and how the fish react to it.
Mhm.
But what I really wanted it for and what I'm going to be using it for in the summertime or even like within hopefully a few weeks and the water when it stops fucking snowing and the water temp comes up is like I want to be able to like when I do want to finesse fish point at a bank see those schools of fish or if they're just absolutely not biting shallow go out and scope the depths
Yeah.
out in the deep and find them suspending stuff like that. But right now what I'm doing is literally running that thing nonstop just to see if I can see how it looks and works and trying to
Right.
play with it. But what's happening is I literally will go out and screw around with it for 2 hours and then go back shallow and throw a swim jig and catch 4 fish. I'm like, why was I wasting my time with this? But
No. I think what you should do is if you're really going to make it part of your arsenal, use it like any other tool. Use it for a little while, just to go out and practice with it, and then go back to what's comfortable for you, and build your pattern and all that sort of stuff, and then
right.
just keep at it, but don't put too much time. You don't want to burn yourself out on it.
Right.
That's all I've done so far with it. I've been 2 days and literally everything I'm doing is straight using it, looking for schools of fish and seeing how they react. I'm not even caring. I'm throwing like on those perch. I caught a 14-inch perch on a 3.5-inch swim bait. Like
Yep.
he had no right biting that, but that it was a school of perch. I kind of knew it was, but I was throwing bigger baits because I was looking for the smallmouth hanging on the edge.
So as someone who doesn't use electronics, Jesse, you know what's funny about it is last year all I said was I'm not really worried about forward facing sonar because I've beat guys without it. But what I've learned from it, like Chris was saying, like something that's crazy is I've learned little things like my wacky rig was never making it to the bottom.
Yep.
I had no idea. I was casting my wacky rig, leaving my bail open, waiting for the line to stop sinking, closing my bail, and popping it. Watching it on forward-facing sonar, the bait I'm throwing is hovering 3 feet from the bottom in current and never making it to the bottom.
Wow.
And me and Chris talked about this today. When I hopped it, I was pulling it 3 feet.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was bumping it that hard or that far, and I was literally bumping that thing significant, like moving it forward 5 feet and up 3 feet at the same time. And that's what stuff like that is going to be good and bad. I was saying that to Chris earlier too, was that like what's going to be good is I'm going to know where the bait is and have a better idea. Like if I want to drag bottom, I'll know I'm actually dragging bottom.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I'm going to have is I'm going to have to also make sure that I either turn it off or mentally check myself because what I do works. So if I start changing what I do because the technology is showing me that what I thought was happening, I'm actually not going to be suspending that bait and catching the same fish that I was catching suspending that bait because I'm going to let it sink. You know what I mean? So it's like I've got to find that balance to like not let it change everything and have it be an addition to my skill set instead of being like a tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool to help you be more successful. And the problem with so many people, see, I don't use it personally. I don't use electronics.
He's in California, so the weather looks like that there anyways.
No, but seriously though, I mean, I don't use electronics, but I don't shit on people who do use it. Yeah. Okay, I see it as a tool, and maybe one day in the future I might dabble in it. I don't know. We'll see. But I also like being able to be more engaged with what's going on around me.
Right.
And today, that was something that I noticed with when I was hopping my blade baits. When I started out doing it, I, like you said, you think it's on the bottom and you give it a little tap, and that little tap jumps it 4 or 5 feet.
Yep.
And so I started to like really slow down and pay attention to when my line went light, and it's like, okay, it's on the bottom, and now I'm just gonna just with my wrist just go pop like that. And that jumps it just a foot. And when I started doing that, that's when they started eating it, because they were like clamped to the bottom.
Yeah. I've been noticing that just from like, that's one thing I did notice about the forward facing sonars. You don't realize how much shit's down there. Like, I was rolling, literally a Ned rig with one of the rabid baits, like the little craw that they have with the like fur on the feet. I was like, I'm gonna throw this because the fur floats, so it was gonna be kind of like just a cool way to like just play around with that, pinging a minnow technique. I just didn't have the stuff with me to do the actual minnow, and it was, now granted, a lot of it was perch, but like you would just see like what you thought was a hump suddenly, and Chris saw that too. Like, it was weird, dude. You'd see like, you'd look and it looked like a hump. And then your bait would go over it and the hump would follow your bait. And you're like, holy shit. It was just like a pack of fish just hovering on the bottom. And then all of a sudden they'd break up and start chasing your bait towards the surface. And you're like, oh, crap. Like, I had no idea that was fish.
Yeah. I mean, so I temp my water again today. So when I went out on Tuesday, it was at 38.6. Today it was roughly about the same. It was still 38.
Your shit's colder than mine, man.
Cold, like, so I knew those fish were going to be like right at the bottom, and that's exactly where they were. They just happened to move a little bit from where I had found them on Tuesday.
What was the lake you fished, Chris? What was that at for temp?
I had 39 on Friday evening. And then Sunday on the other lake up there, we had 40 to 41 and a half. Longest we found.
Dude, I had 48.
Wow.
On my home lake.
Wow.
I told you, dude, that lake is weird. It is the weird. I don't know if it's the grass. I don't know if it's.
It is all that dead stuff on the bottom in there must. I mean, you saw it last year when we were there. It had those little bubbles. It must be like fermenting or something under the water.
Do you know what the problem with it is? So this weekend, and actually guys that are watching, everybody in the viewers, so I have a dilemma. So we were just talking about the weather. I was gonna go pre-fish. I guess it's not even really pre-fish. It's just going and fishing. But the Lake Bombazine is our first Slay Nation event, and I was gonna go fish there, but the wind looks like it's possibly gonna be 25 miles an hour and an inch of snow on a 3,400 acre lake. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be not fun. I'm going to be getting splashed all day with waves.
Where is the wind supposed to be coming from?
Yeah.
I got to look. I think it was north.
If you're at Northwest, you could go to the North Launch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tuck right into those bays up in the northern side of it, and you should be pretty well shielded, and more than likely that's where your fish are going to be hanging out too.
Hopefully. Yeah, I hope they're going up there.
There's the side of that, but then there's also the fact that my home lake, I could literally go fish the main access area where I caught 8 fish last weekend in a 40-yard circle. So it's like, I call them my pet fish. Like, it's literally that kind of lake where like I'm like, when I need to make a video or I need to go catch fish, and if you guys watch my videos, you go, oh yeah, I've seen that clump of trees like 150 times, or that access 50 times. Like, but see, I'm doing the Jigs and Bigs slot series event next weekend, and that is every fish between 12 and 17 inches counts for from 8 to 4. I don't want to beat my fish up too much this early, especially with their mouths being so cold.
Yep.
They're not going to bite, and their mouths are, I don't know if you guys know this, for people who don't necessarily are nerds like us and study fish biology because we're stupid and we're fishermen, but like their bodies react differently in the wintertime cold weather than they do in the summertime. That's actually why when you catch bass in the spring, they have like red on their mouths. It's because they're eating crawdads, and their mouth is actually more sensitive and harder in the wintertime. So when you hook them, that they're not eating as much, and their mouth is harder, so they don't heal as fast. So they're going to keep that hook mark for another week or two longer than they would in the summertime. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go beat up on fish that I want to try to catch for money 7 days later. So, but at the same time, it's really hard not to go jack largemouth in the face with a swim jig, because I know I can.
Right.
It's like there's just something about.
When are you doing that?
It's next Saturday, the 19th.
Next Saturday.
It's a nationwide, dude. You should get in on it. It's on Fishing Chaos.
Well, I was gonna say, maybe you should just come up to my little pond up here. You'll get plenty at that time.
I don't know if I can. I'd have to look at work
schedules
and stuff. Dude, that drive, that's 3 hours from me, dude, up there.
True.
That means I'd have to leave my house at 4 o'clock in the morning and then get home at 9 o'clock at night. True. But yeah, that's my debate is, and I may go to Burr Pond. I was thinking about that too, because that's a little like 100-acre pond.
What's that little pond down there just before you get into Killington?
Kent?
Is that Kent?
See, I thought about hitting that too, but again,
it's cold up there though.
30-mile-an-hour winds and snow, and I mean, dude, not even shitting you, they're still skiing up there.
Right.
So like Killington, I'm pretty sure still has trails open. So
okay.
And don't get me wrong, that is actually one of the first places I typically fish, because it is a mountain lake. So those mountain fish are more adept to colder water. That's actually fed by a waterfall. So there's literally a waterfall on the backside by the access that then kind of run. It's stream fed, but it's literally like you can hear it. It's like a waterfall comes down, and then there's an outlet dam on the other side. So like the water in there is always like significantly cooler there than it is everywhere else, because it's just mountain stream, and that's just water in, water out. So it doesn't ever really get stagnant. But it's not very deep. It's like 20 feet deep. So it still doesn't get like, but it does have, that one is another place that I do those like slot series tournaments at, because that's another one of those places where you're not going to catch a 5-pounder. Well, okay, I have, but it's not like an average. You know, it's like you're going to catch 20, 14 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go up and down. There's one shoreline you can go up and down with a Ned rig and a Helgermite and catch 14 inches all day long.
That's like more reservoir up here. I mean, you go on there. So when EKF 2 years ago, when EKF did one of their stops there, I was looking at the stats on that. Only 4 people caught a 19-incher. That's it. Everybody else, the average was like 15 inchers. Like I want to say the winning score was like 78 or something like that.
Yeah, it was low.
Yeah, it was super low. But yeah, that place is just like the one you're talking about. They're plenty of them, but they're small, which is strange because it's big enough to have significantly larger fish in there, and I don't understand why they don't.
Right.
It is weird, that place.
Chris, I gotta ask, are we allowed to talk about the one thing that...
If it's the thing I think you're talking about, you can talk about that it is coming, yes.
Okay. You want to talk about it since you probably know more about it?
If you're talking about the new swim bait rod,
Yeah.
there is a brand new swim bait rod coming out. We're taking a little bit of the old, blending it with some ideas from some pro staffers and some other guys up higher in the industry,
Yep.
more like our pros, as you've been seeing. Some of our pros have been doing pretty good lately. Um, and so that's where the driving force behind that is. Our rods, there's nothing wrong with our swim bait rods. But and I don't know enough about swim baits, but what I do know is that people really are into swim baits, want that at least 6 ounce rod. And our rod that is labeled 6 ounces is just too stiff for a lot of the guys. It's lighter, but stiffer than most of the rods they like.
And really, the swim bait rod from FX is it's like can be. It wasn't really purpose built for that, was it? Or was it?
No, well, it,
It seems like it kind
I'll
of
put it
is,
this
but
way:
kind of
it
isn't.
has it's a multi-purpose rod.
Right.
It is also labeled as a flipping rod,
Right.
but it changes the weights of lines, action, not the action, sorry, line and weight and ounces of baits per your technique.
Right.
So again, when you're flipping, everything is short, heavy braid, and your hook sets are violent, like you like
Right.
to set the hook.
Yeah.
And then when you go into a swim bait mode, your casts are much more calculated. They're much more of a lobbing. And then
Yeah,
your
you're
hook
trying to-
nets are always a sweeping, rolling into it, let the fish do the work, and then reel them in. So that's why that rod is weighted, same rod, but marked differently.
Right.
What Bob is trying to generate, Bob and Shane, they're trying to generate a rod that is going to be a little softer, so not as stiff, but still get up into that 6 ounce or
Still
better
have that
range.
power, yeah.
And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, there might be two models basically, and which one would be a little bit smaller. But with that being said, we also have a couple rods that really work well for that 2.5 to
Right.
3 ounce that are already in the lineup. So I'm not 100% sure what they're doing on the lower end, but that 6 ounce rod is where I'm assuming the one we have now for swim baits is going to be discontinued and the new one will be coming out.
Makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the works, and I hate to say this is not a quick process.
No, it's not.
They do all the testing here, they design it, then they have it built, then they test it again, and then after that, if it was perfect, then they can mass produce. But normally it's not. Normally it takes 2 or 3 blanks to come up with the perfect rod. So it can be a year plus process.
And yeah, Michael Bradley, the whole 6 ounce thing. So you got to remember, some of these swim baits are carved out of like it's 8 inches of balsa. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's not TPU plastic like the stuff you're buying at Dick's.
Right.
It is a hand carved piece. Like there's literally guys who are carving like swim baits out of maple. Like it's not. It's a heavy dense material. So I mean, you'd be surprised. Like this right here.
Yeah, I have some silicone swim baits right here, and they're not very big.
Yeah.
Is that the line through? I think that's the line through. And then this little guy is only a 3.5, and the 3.5 is heavier than this one.
Actually,
The way
dude,
it's
that
weighted.
bait,
This one's designed to sit on the bottom. This one's designed to swim in the water column.
the one Jesse was
Don't
just
forget
talking
the
about
mag draft.
Mag
You
draft's an ounce.
10-inch mag draft is sitting at right at 6 ounces. So
Yeah.
So, and our rod that's labeled 6 will throw up to 8, but because we are fishermen and we don't listen, we underrate it. Because if he said 8, we're going to throw a 10.
Yeah.
So he underrates everything that way. You know,
Yeah.
it's a real fine game when you start getting into that technical. It's got to be able to cast and or set the hook with this big of a bait. And also when you're reeling it, if it's too soft, when you're reeling it, it's already preloaded. So now you're losing a lot of the function of the rod on the hook set. There's a lot that goes into it. And it's pretty funny. You see people all the time talk about, oh, it needs to do this and that. And I'm like, does it really? But,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what they want to do. So we try to get them what they want.
The thing is too is like you got to think about like a swim bait rod isn't just necessarily jointed swim bait. It could be glide bait, and you need to be able to work a glide bait differently than you do jointed swim. You know, some swim baits are just like bag draft is just chuck it and wind it as slow as you can, because as soon as you start to reel it fast, it's going to start doing barrel rolls.
Yeah.
But that Zal Dangerous bait, that one can handle a lot more, but that's not a light bait either, dude. I don't know which one you got, but
so that one is 1.9 ounces. So
yeah,
I mean it's hefty, but I could. Well, no, I couldn't because that rod isn't strong enough. But right now I'm throwing that on my 710 response rod from 6 Cents. So it's an extra heavy. It's a mod fast, but it's just got that soft enough tip to give it a really good cast, but it still has enough power in there to really jack them. Because so
that's a flipping hook.
That's
on that
thing,
yeah.
That is absolutely probably one of the thickest flipping hooks that I've seen. And that thing needs some power to drive that sucker home.
You could probably take a shark home with that thing. It is.
Oh yeah, that thing is no joke.
And that's the biggest thing you got to worry about is what hook are you throwing, right?
Yep.
You're throwing a huge flipping hook. You, like you said, you need to be able to jack it in. If it's a treble hook, you just want to reel into it, you know?
Yeah.
So the same weight bait, the rod could be, you would want a different rod for that flipping hook than you would for a treble. Because a treble with that same rod, you're going to yank that treble right out of their mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, to FX's credit, Chris kind of apologized for how long it was going to take. I don't want you to take a long time designing a rod.
No.
Like if I'm going to spend the money, and not that FX rods are expensive, but like if I'm going to spend money on a quality rod, I'm probably a good person that you should probably listen to if I say buy a rod, because if it can survive a fishing season with me, it'll get 10 for you. Because literally, there was the first 3 tournaments of the year, I broke 3 rods. And it was all dumb shit. It wasn't fishing. It was like one of them at Miles, dude. Matter of fact, Jesse, you'll appreciate this. So on the right-hand side of the boat ramp, you know, like there's that pile of reeds right there.
Yep.
I stuffed my kayak in there while we were waiting to load, and I pushed it backwards, and my swim bait got caught in those reeds, and I broke the tip of my rod. Like, it's dumb crap like that I'll break my rods. So I want the extra thought and process and quality put into my rods, because I'm going to break them. So if you could make them last me for the whole season or 2 seasons because you put a little bit more time and effort in the design, then I'm going to pay more for that, because I have a lot of I used to have a lot of production rods, but I've been slowly breaking them. I haven't broken FX one yet.
Oh man! So I'm going to give you a little secret on a bait to use this year, and it doesn't even matter what time of year you're using it. So you're aware of the battalions, obviously.
Yeah.
Megabass battalions. I think it's the Kinbuna, the gold colored one. Start throwing that, and you're going to start dragging in smallmouth like it's your job.
Isn't it weird that baits that look like a smallmouth is what the smallmouth, like, if you notice, maybe it's just me, but I've noticed like the color. I mean, granted, smallmouth like weird colors like bubblegum pink too, but like you notice like smallmouth tend to hit like gold, bronze colored baits more.
They absolutely love gold. I think I have probably caught more small, like as far as swim baits are concerned, because I look at a battalion and I put it in like the swim bait giant lipless crankbait, and typically it's a floating bait, but I actually put some suspend strips on the belly of it so that I can actually get it sinking. That thing is so ridiculously good at cranking down on some smallmouths. I don't know why, but they're just so aggressive with that bait. And then conversely, the Jinbuna, which is the silver one, I might have mixed those two up, but the silver one of those, the largemouth really like.
Yep. You know what's funny is I've never had a lot of luck with like silver or white, and I know like everybody's like, oh, throw white, but I
throw white all the time.
I really don't have. I gotta do it more. And that's, you know what it is
well,
there's a lot of colors.
Are different down there than up here.
See, and that's the thing, dude. I've got to start diversifying because
Yeah.
last year, as Chris, like by the end of the season, I was like, dude, I think I'm like catching all the fish. Like at my home lake, dude, it got to the point where like by August, it was a struggle to catch anything bigger than like 13 inches. Because I think I had just pissed off all of the fish that were of quality. But like what we were saying earlier with temperature, I have to fish my home lake at least once every weekend from here through the spawn because it is, and I don't know how it is up by you, Jesse, but I know like Chris, there's some areas too, like we've talked about this. So it seems like there's like lately it's been like a week where they all rush the bank, and if you're not there when that week happened, then you miss the fun. Like you'll still get the other secondary waves, but like there's like a week where the big girls all come to get their work done and then go home. And if you don't hit that lake on that day, I always regret it.
It is. I've noticed that it is week dependent, and it's also dependent on the water body itself.
Yeah.
So pensioner, it's funny because typically I start fishing that like the end of the third week of April. So I'm a couple weeks early right now on it, which doesn't surprise me why I'm not getting as many fish out of there. Because last year in 2 days, I pulled out 56 smallmouth, ranging from 20 inches all the way down to 13. And they stage in that spot for like a week, and then they immediately disperse and go up shallow.
Yep.
But you go into like Maury or something like that, and it could be a week later or a week earlier. So was it the second week in May? I moved up on the side closest to the interstate.
Yep.
And the smallmouth had already finished spawning, and the only ones that I was hitting that was on beds were big males. Like I had a bunch of 19-inch males, and I knew they were males because they were thin and they were beat to hell.
That happened to us at Chitin and Rez when we did our tournament.
Yeah.
I was there 2 days
Weekend
before
before
the tournament.
they were just getting off the bed the weekend before.
Yep.
And then the week after that, I hit what was it? Oh, Echo Lake up here. And I did a water temp check because it felt really freaking warm. It was 72 degrees. Yep. 72 degrees already.
Wow.
In the third week of May, and I actually met Zach McNaughton up there. He had gone up there and he caught a couple of them, but he was blown away. He was like, this is usually the time that they're just starting to spawn, and these fish were already off the beds.
Yeah, they were done at that
water.
Yeah, and it blew my mind. It just happened so fast. It was like 1 minute you're looking at 50-degree water, and then like a week later it's in the 70s. It's like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with like I've noticed the last few years it's been, and like I said, my home lake it's weird because like I said it's gonna snow and be cold this weekend, so we'll probably get like I'll probably be like back down in the low 40s again. But the thing about my home lake too is that there isn't like I think it's spring fed. I don't really know of any river or like tributary to it, so basically the water's there, so like it just warms. It doesn't have a flow, so
but it always exits out that one spot. It always leaves that spot, right?
There is a dam,
right?
But
and it's almost always flowing.
It isn't though, because that's the thing is I think it's one of those deals where like I think it actually like trickles. Like I think like because so from the first time I fished it to so I fished it like three times this year. The water level's already come up 2 feet.
Oh, jeez.
It comes up quick, and I don't know where the water comes from because, and I only know that because I'm babying my kayak because I don't know how deep my drive is yet. I haven't quite gotten that. Right. How deep is too deep or how shallow is too shallow where I'm going to start running my skag through this mud. And as Chris knows that drive out, if you basically have a channel, and if you deviate 2 feet to the right or left, you're in 4 inches of water. And it's just, you got to stay in that groove. But in this time of year, that groove even can be like super shallow. And I went from the first time I went out there, I was almost dragging bottom and had to basically paddle out most of the way, to I could pretty much get about 15 feet off of where the boat ramp would be, and then could pedal. So, but what's crazy about that place is that I think it's because the fish, and this is where I'm spoiled, is that lake, there's basically 2 spawning flats. That's
Right.
it. There's really only 2 spawning flats. So, and the deep water is right next to it. They're not coming a long ways. So it's, to set them up, you basically know, you get out of the boat ramp, you fish for about 15, 20 minutes. They're not there. They're here, because that's the only other place they can be during that time of year, because you know they're coming. So the staging points are so obvious on that lake. And that's why I probably won't hold any more tournaments there, because now Chris knows all my secrets. That was the funnest tournament for me ever, because
This is crazy.
I literally set everybody. We got 94 inches in an April tournament, because I just know that lake so well that, like, I literally purposely delayed leaving the ramp, because I knew what everybody was going to do, because the textbook, the topography, the layout of that lake says you should do basically one of 3 things, and everybody went and did those 3 things, and I pretended I forgot something and ran back to my truck. And then once everybody got out in the deep water, literally me and my teammate went out deep with no intention of fishing, and waited till everybody got out of eye line, and then just went right back in and just fished this basically 50-yard circle all day. And Bear was like confused. He's like, dude, why are we here? And I'm like,
Right.
watch. I'm like, watch. And he's like, what? And I'm like, take this bait, tie this bait on, and throw it over there. And he caught it. He caught like a 16-incher, and he's like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, these are my pets. That's Fred. This is Bill. I'm like, these fish, dude. I've literally gone to that lake 3 weeks in a row and caught the same largemouth on the same dock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got that 20 and a half. We caught him the weekend before. I missed him in the morning on the weekend before. We tried all deep and everywhere else. We came back where that fish was. We caught him.
Yep.
My son caught him. And then on that Saturday, or on the tournament Sunday, I caught him again. So,
Yep.
I
Yeah,
mean,
and it's funny because you'll catch fish with like distinct markings, and like you'll see the hole from last week where you pulled the jig out of his mouth. Like, it's,
I mean, I knew right the dock post he came off. I mean, he came off that dock post, missed my chatterbait in the morning, and then we went back and he caught him on a worm later. And then the next day, I caught him right out in front of that dock post. And so he either came off it or he was hanging just off.
But that's the other thing I've learned too, and that's one thing I want to learn in forward-facing sonar though too. Is I think sometimes we think a fish is on a dock, and I don't think they are. Sometimes I think the fish is actually 20 yards deep in the middle and watching that dock.
Yeah.
Because I've sometimes caught fish where, like, I realize, like, when you watch them, when you can see them in the water, like super clear lakes, watch where they go when you release them. Because you'd be surprised sometimes they don't go back to that dock. They head out deep. Sometimes I think they're watching from the depths, looking at the dock to go get the bait fish that are living under it. They're not necessarily living under the dock and coming out.
Yeah, no. So oftentimes they'll do that, especially in the summertime, is they'll use that dock as a pinning point for any bait fish that comes through there. They can sit off like 10, 15 feet off, because you know it ain't going to take them that long to get to that dock.
They're fast.
And all they've got to do is pin that one fish right up against a rock or something that's sticking out from that dock, and they're just going to shoot up when that fish isn't paying attention and smoke it.
Yeah.
So oftentimes in the summertime when I'm out there fishing, especially in a couple of places that I enjoy going often, there's some docks out there that I will I'll pitch to the dock to see if the fish is actually there. If I don't get any bites, I'll immediately turn around and start fishing out and bringing the bait up. Because oftentimes they'll sit there facing the dock, like you're saying, and if you cast it and you let it go down about mid column, and then start bringing it in. It acts as though it's a bait fish that's coming in from deeper water and doesn't notice the fish is there, and then they can turn and track it as it's going by, and then they just move in behind it, and then when it gets close enough, they smash it.
Yeah.
I've said that in videos. Like sometimes what I'll do if you can't find, so you're running up and down the bank. This is normally the area that you catch them, right? Add 30 to 40 yards from that structure towards the middle.
Yep.
There's not necessarily anything there, but take that dock, add 30 yards, now fish here. For some reason, they're out there now. Like, and it's just like they do pull out. I do sometimes, honestly, I think it's our fault.
Right.
They're laying under that dock. That's their nice home. They like it. And then fucking yumdinger, Senko, yumdinger, jerkbait, chatterbait. And they're like, I'm going to get out of here until these stupid humans leave.
On your forward fishing, have you watched any swim away from your bait yet? When you cast?
Dude, yes. And you know what happened? You know what pissed me off too? So you know what's going to be awesome is jerkbaits.
Oh, it's fun. I've already tried it.
Jerkbaits that is going to change my life because I'm not uber confident with jerkbaits, but being able to see, like, you have your jerkbait just sitting there. First of all, 2 of the jerkbaits that are labeled suspending that I have not touched, so I've not modified them, and I know water temperature and all that has an effect, but 2 of the jerkbaits that are marketed, and these are high-end jerkbaits that are marketed as suspending, don't fucking suspend. They sink. I'll tell you right now, I watched them do it. But also, that bait sitting there, right? That blob behind your bait. Twitch, and that fish looks at it. Twitch, gone.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. So then work it slower. Okay, now the fish didn't leave. That's going to be what's cool. But what I had happen to me, Chris, which pissed me off, dude. So the pike, I had a pike, and I know it was a pike because I actually saw it. It was in shallow enough water. It hit my bait, and it freaked me out, and I ripped the fucking... Because I'm watching the screen and not paying attention to my mechanics of hooking the fish. And I felt the tick, but I was so focused on the dock getting closer to my bait that my brain didn't register that's a bite. Yanked it out of his mouth, and then I twitch, and then the next time he came on, I twitched it again, and he realized, oh, that's what, I think he put it together that, okay, whatever it was, this isn't natural or whatever. But yeah, that's what's interesting to me about that technology is, like, I don't even necessarily, yes, it is going to be cool to, like, watch a fish eat it, but I think that's actually going to burn me more than anything, because just like with a frog, I'm going to end up ripping it out of their mouth if I try to watch them eat it, because I'm going to yank it before, because there is, like, I watched a fish in a foot of, like, I was looking at the perch physically, and I'm looking at my forward-facing sonar. It's not instantaneous. It's technology. It has to send the signal back and forth. So, like, when you think that fish is on your bait, they're coming. They've either been there and left, or, like, there is a lag to it. So you have to take that into account. So for me, it's going to be more about color, action, retrieve. Like, I learned that, like, blade bait. Jesse was talking about that earlier. So I was working a blade bait, and I thought I was slow retrieving it close to the bottom. When I watched the bait on forward-facing sonar, that thing was fucking flying.
Yeah, and high.
And
they
2 feet off the bottom. Yeah. So I realized that, like, the forward-facing sonar may cost... Matter of fact, I bought forward-facing sonar baits today, but that's besides the point. I might buy a slower speed reel for specific purposes, because I'm running, like, mostly 7.5s.
That's all I'm running too.
But dude, I couldn't get the bait to go slow enough.
Yeah, aside from my frog rod and my jig rod, that's I'm running all 7s. So
I keep in mind, again, this is where it's funny, is I preach, like, oh, buy quality rods, buy good gear, buy reaction tackle braid. I buy fucking $40 Cast King rails. I'm not buying Tatulas. I'm not good about maintaining them. So I would rather spend $40 twice a year than $160 once a year, because I'm not going to make, like, I actually had more problems with my Tatulas than I ever had with my like loose reels.
Yeah, I'm switching out from Daiwa. I've had a couple of, especially my Steez A2.
Yep.
I don't know what the heck happened to it, but it just all of a sudden one day just started grinding, like gear stripped on it or something. And I hadn't even had the thing for a year, and I'm like, yeah. So I've been slowly swapping back over to Shimano.
See,
Yeah,
I hate.
I'm going the other way. I'm going from Shimano over to Daiwa.
See, I don't really like Shimano either, because I don't like centrifugal brakes. I hate them.
I will say, casting wise, the Daiwa and the Shimano outcast anything else that I've fished. I've
So
tried to.
Oh yeah, Iowa,
Yeah.
you're going to cast a mile and a half. I mean,
Absolutely.
especially like a Steez Limited or something like that. You get the perfect bait and it dialed in just right. You're going to send that thing to the moon. I know that, but I also know that I don't want to cast that freaking far, because the rods that I use primarily are moderate,
Yep.
and at the end of that cast, that is not very conducive of a good hook set. So
No.
I don't mind sacrificing a little bit of distance if I can maintain that hook set.
Yeah.
And I don't run braid to leader, nor do I run straight braid unless it's the frog rod, and that's it.
Oh really? See, I have like 2 rods that are straight fluoro, and everything else is straight braid.
Yeah.
The only thing I run braid to leader is my spinning.
All my spinning is braid to leader. I wanted
And
to
that's
try
just
straight
for
fluoro this
casting.
year, and
Mm.
I bought some real expensive line because it said it works great on spinning reels. So far, it has not. So I'm probably going back to braid to leader on that spinning reel also.
So, dude, I run like a 10-pound braid, and
Yeah,
then
me
I
too.
run it to like a 10 to 12 pound. Because what's funny is I have yet to find, and maybe it's just me, maybe it's just because I have weird tendencies when it comes to stuff, but I have not found 10-pound fluorocarbon that doesn't act like fucking tissue paper
Oh,
when you use it. I have a problem with
I run
most.
8 and 10. That's all I
See,
run.
most brands that I use 10 on, I break, but then when I get to 12, it's fine.
Get the Daiwa Samurai Hidden Concept,
Okay.
and you know 8, 10, it doesn't matter. That stuff is gonna last. I mean, I've pulled in freaking pike on a jerk bait on 10-pound test, and pretty decent sized pike too. So
Okay.
it's some solid line. I mean, it is definitely more expensive,
Yeah,
but you're getting the quality with that
Yeah.
what you're
Oh
paying.
no, dude, and don't get me wrong, I'm using InvisX. I'm not using it's not super expensive, but it's not like Yozuri either. You know what I mean? Like it's still $30 a spool. And don't get me wrong, I use reaction tackle too. Cody, don't yell at me, but I kind of like InvisX better. And that's the thing I'll admit on my channel first and foremost is I don't get me wrong, most of my terminal tackle is reaction tackle, but my line is not. My braid is, my fluorocarbon's not.
Yeah, fluoro. So right now, the majority of the fluoro that I run, actually no, not the majority, all of the fluoro that I run has all been the Strike King Contra right now, because I won some stuff from Strike King last year, and one of the things that I got was 1,000-yard spool of 17 and 1,000-yard spool of 15 pound.
How do you like the Contra? I'm
The
curious on that.
it's actually been really good. For a cheaper fluorocarbon, you would think that it wouldn't be that great, and the knot strength has been good. I haven't had any slippage, any of that sort of stuff. Abrasion resistance seems to be fine. I'm dragging my baits on the bottom, and I'm not getting any nicks or anything when they're coming up. So,
Right.
especially so, yeah. Yeah.
You know what the best part of the Contra is? I'll tell you right now. The 300-yard spools. I don't know if the 1,000 has it. The suction cup's kind of cool.
Yeah. I
So
haven't gotten it. with that yet because, like I said, I got the 1,000 yards full, and I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna run with this and see how it goes.
Dude, I'm
It's
not even kidding you. I've had one with a suction cup stuck to my gun cabinet for 6 months and it hasn't fallen off yet.
Cool.
So it is. So what's nice about it is like with like so like Chris's Old Town or like kayaks that have that hard cover on the front, you can stick it to that and then reel line onto it. Or like if you're at the boat ramp, you can literally stick it to like your truck window.
Yeah.
And put line on it, and it will free spin on that. That is a really cool touch. It's actually nice for like in your kayak because you can stick it to any like flat smooth surface and then pull like leader out if you want to use it for leader line and stuff like that. So
but yeah, I mean, if it continues to be good, I might actually stick with the Contra. I mean,
the price isn't bad.
Yeah, the price is not bad at all. So I'll go with it.
See, I've had trouble with P line. I had
Not a
problems
P line guy.
I had P line break on me.
I used to break all the time. I stopped using it.
I use P line. I use the copolymer that they have.
Yeah.
That was actually not too bad. It's a little bit heavier than I would like, though.
See, when I go copolymer, I go old school as hell, and I use Maxima Ultra Green.
Oh.
And dude, it actually
try this big game, baby.
Dude, big game, dude, why not?
Dude, I actually
for $6 for 600 yards.
I have it. I mean,
that's what you know what I use it for? I use it for learning or practicing skipping in the spring.
Yep.
And then I also use it for the kids to learn how to use a bait caster. It's perfect.
Yep.
And I buy like 17 or 20 because
it's actually it's not a bad topwater line either.
You can't break it. Yeah. I put it on my rods when I go down to Florida to visit my dad in Florida. I put it on a couple reels when I go down there because I don't worry about it. And if I get a bird's nest because I'm not fresh, I go down in like January.
Yeah.
I don't worry about it. And like I lose like 40 yards of it because I got to cut it off because I can't get it. It won't break.
Yep.
Like it's insane. That stuff's so strong.
Dude, I use it on so I bought a big spool of it, like one of those like 1,000-yard spools or whatever, which is still like what, $15. Like it's not expensive at all.
No.
I bought it for I will take every once in a while I'll spool up a reel with it to like troll. So I don't have trolling gear. What I'll do is I'll take a medium heavy casting rod with my cat because the funny part about it is and as someone who grew up like king salmon fishing and stuff, bait caster bass fishing reels have more drag than freaking
absolutely
trolling reels do. So like you throw some good quality or even not even good quality, just good strong mono on there. You can go trolling with a bait caster setup with just as much ability. And in a kayak, I don't want a fucking 10-foot actual trolling rod because what the hell am I going to do with a 10-foot rod in my kayak? So 7-8 foot casting rod's perfect for it. But I also use it for all that ice fishing footage you guys saw. That was all big game, baby. That was ice fishing braid to it was literally Woodford or whatever the freaking ice fishing braid line is to probably I don't know 3 foot big game because and I was catching pike after pike after pike after pike with it.
One line, so I know I see Scott there. He likes Seagar. Seagar is good, but the Abrazex is no. Abrazex might as well be Abraze all because that shit gets chinked up and chewed up and all sorts of stuff, and you can cast it and you get a kink in it, and it's like, wait, what?
The Abrazex and the Invisex is the only one I found that I really liked.
Is good. I've used Tatsu, and I will definitely go back to Tatsu if I don't decide to go with the Contra. So it is big bucks, but you know what? One thing that Seagar does is they have a 22-pound line. Everybody else goes from like 20 to 25. Tatsu and other Seagar lines have a 22 in there, and I like that for my swim baiting. So
when you watch YouTube, guys, so this is something that you'll learn once you start studying this stuff. Watch YouTube and listen to what they say for pound test they're using, and you can find which guys are lying to you on what line they're using.
Yep. Yep.
Because some brands
Right.
do odd and some brands do even. So if they say they're using a 13-pound cigar, guess what? They're not, because they don't do odd numbers, they do even. So like sometimes you listen to like YouTubers and stuff and they're like, oh yeah, I'm using a 13-pound cigar. And I'm like, unless you're getting that custom made from Japan, dude, it's not 13 pounds.
Not happening. No, and so cigar is actually one of the thinnest diameter lines that you can get for its pound test ratio. That was one thing that I was really keeping an eye on was, especially with the Tatsu, is so their 25 pound is equivalent to, I want to say it was the Strike King Tour grade.
Yep.
So the Seagar's Tatsu is equivalent in line diameter. The 25 pound is equivalent to like the Strike King's like 20 pound.
Yep.
So you're getting a thinner line but stronger.
Yeah. And actually, Pete, you know what's funny about this statement right here is it probably is, because something that is actually ironic is like, so for example, one of the big hook brands in the industry that's starting to really make waves and start to really come out, BKK. Guess what?
Oh, I love
Owner, Mustad, they were all BKK.
So almost all of my lipless crankbaits I've swapped out with their I want to say it's their EWG, the spear point. I think the SS71s or something like that, the short ones. Dude, those things are so stupid, sticky sharp. It's not even funny.
Dude, BKK has been making hooks longer than anyone, and they've been making almost everybody's hooks the whole time. They just decided to start producing their own stuff because they got sick of just making it for everybody else.
Yep. Yeah.
So like everybody's always like, oh yeah, this brand's better than that brand. They're made in the same fucking factory.
Yep.
I'm so impressed, and their packaging is amazing.
So I'm not gonna lie, dude. I almost dropped $300 for that like OCD kit.
Yeah, I want to. I'm gonna probably buy the smaller one that's only got a little bit in it.
You know what I thought about doing is
the problem is it won't fit in my kayak where I want it.
Well, you know, yeah, and you know what the issue is like there's a bunch of hooks in there that I would never use.
Right.
That's the only thing is there's some stuff in there that I'm like, I'm not using a size 5.
Yeah. I'm waiting till the
I'm not trout fishing. Like I don't know. I don't need a hook that small. Like I'm like I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. So
I don't know. I'm waiting till the fall to buy a box from BKK.
Yeah.
There's a reason that I'm waiting for it.
Somebody was saying
coming out.
Yeah.
Somebody was saying something on YouTube where BKK's hooks, when you go to get them, you almost have to get like if you get a size 8, it's almost like a size 6 and other hook sizes.
I could see it. So
I haven't so far I compared like the 1/0 up to the 5/0 and they're all the same.
They are. Okay. Yeah, it was just something.
I haven't done the number 1, 2s, the 4s, the 6s. I haven't done those.
And for those of you who are confused right now, if you don't understand hook sizes, no one understands hook sizes, so don't worry about it. But like before you get to aughts, the higher number is actually the smaller hook, so it gets confusing. So when you hear like, oh, size 8, and they're like, oh, that seems like a big hook. No, that's like a teeny tiny little freaking hook, like smallest hook you've ever seen. But what sucks is like that's another thing that's like kind of like rods that we talk about too, like with actions on rods. Hook sizes aren't really standard either.
There's a few companies that are different.
They're like for example, I've noticed like Owner, they have a wider gap. Like a size 2/0 is wider between the shank and the hook than like an Owner. I actually will buy certain ones for that reason because I want the shorter shank but the wider like bow. But
oh no, my screen is messing up again.
Yeah, you're starting.
She's gone.
Yeah, so that BKK that I was talking about is the Spear EWG 71SS treble hooks.
Oh yeah.
Size
I
4.
haven't tried those, but I've heard they're ridiculously sharp.
Yeah, I have those size 4s on my lipless, on my Jackals, my TN70s.
Yeah.
Oh, they're perfect size for them. Perfect size.
Well, and from what I read too, like they're not weight balance, all that. Like they're so comparable to everybody else that like you can just wholesale swap it with stock stuff or like
Mhm.
even upgraded gear where you're not.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
that's something that people don't realize too, and that's something that, and actually guys like Pete would be able to probably really talk about as somebody who paints baits and tests baits all the time. Like you take a heavier size 4 treble hook and put it on a crankbait, you're gonna fuck up the action on that bait.
Yeah.
It's not gonna wobble the same, and especially jerk baits.
Mm.
You start putting the wrong weight hook on a jerk bait, you've now taken your suspended jerk bait and made it a sinking,
Or made it swim like this,
or made
like
it swim
that,
freaking backwards, or
yeah.
so like you do have to
And
be
Pete
careful.
uses really good quality hooks on his. I
Yeah.
helped him put a bunch on before one of the shows, and it, like by the end of the night, I was sore.
It's what's crazy is that's kind
a
of how
lot of a lot of picks in my finger.
with a treble hook. You know how the way I like determine if a hook is good is if you set it on your finger and it stays
Bring it out,
there.
yeah. If it stays there by itself.
Yeah, because like they're just so sharp that they're going to cut you even without any pressure. Then that's
what I'm super impressed with these BKKs. The 5/0 is ridiculously sharp. And I always liked the Trocar. I thought they were some of the sharper ones, and these are sharper. So I'm gonna switch. All my hooks will be that starting next year.
I've been a fan of Mustad. Honestly, I bought.
Yeah, Pete's are great. The triple grips are ridiculous.
I have. So a lot of my hooks are triple grips, but I did buy, and they are a little bit cheaper, and they do work decently. They don't stay sharp as long as I would like them. Is the Berkeley Fusions aren't bad.
Oh really? I haven't tried those.
They're kind of so. Berkeley, so their fusions are what they put on all their hooks. They kind of like swapped out. They used to use, I think, like a cheaper hook, but they started going with all fusions. But what I noticed with those is I think those are chemically sharpened.
Mm.
So over time, they do start to not be as sharp.
Yeah.
So it's like they're good, and they actually, I will say, they last a long time. And as a matter of fact,
They got a special coating, right?
yeah, they're coated with like a special like chemical that like apparently that's what makes them sharp. But to speak on Pete's comment about Mustad, so 6 Sense uses Mustad a lot.
Yeah.
And that 6 Sense trace that spent 3 weeks in the lake before my tournament when I found it had Mustad hooks and hardware on it, and I pulled it out of the lake, and I'm still using the hooks that it came with. 0 rust, 0 issues, just as sharp as the day I bought it. Caught a bunch of fish on them. So, like, and that's the thing is, like, again, I am cheap and I am lazy. I will swap out, I'm going to say right now, and it will probably make people who are diehard fans of this particular brand mad, but if I buy a Strike King hook, I'm taking those fucking hooks right off and putting because Strike King's hooks are trash. But a lot of other brands, I don't swap the hooks on them until they get rusty. But like, I use pretty much only 2 or 3 brands.
Yeah, I'll be all BKK by next year. Or anything I buy from now on, moving forward, will be BKK.
See, I can get a lot of
super
stuff
impressed.
from like Reaction, so I don't necessarily get.
True.
But they don't do treble hooks, so I definitely would need those. And they have some cool stuff. Like this year, they added the ringed EWGs I want to play around with.
Yeah.
Because I used to do that. I used to put a split ring, not a split ring, the quick clip or whatever the hell it's called.
Oh.
I used to put those on EWGs to give the bait, like it allows the worm or.
Oh, you mean the spring lock?
No, so what they do with the EWG is they have on the actual EWG with the eye, they actually have a steel eye that goes inside the eye, so it's a separate eye. And what it does is it allows that hook to like rotate separate from the line. It's kind of the jickas have the same kind of concept. It just doesn't have a weight on it. And what I used to do with mine is and this was actually because I honestly just did it because I was lazy, but like you could put a quick clip or even a split ring if you wanted on the hook, which would then allow you to change sizes quicker. So like if I wanted to go from like a 4/0 to a 3/0 to a bigger hook, I could just quick clip it on there. But I found that like it would float more, so like it would give you a little bit different bait. Now that being said, if you're punching, you don't want that clip on there because the clip's going to catch on everything and that bait's going to fold over when it goes in the grass. But if you're like just throwing, like a lot of times when I'm flipping like wood, what you'll have with that snap or that ringed hook is when the bait hits the log, it'll allow it to come over it better because it can flex, whereas the line's going to pull that hook right into the log, whereas with that ring it'll kind of bend and pick up so you won't get it as hung. What's up?
Back.
Oh my god, I'm having some issues here.
But yeah, those ringed hooks are like you can use them in weird like I said, wood is where I find they work good. I actually do the same thing with my chatterbait. I will throw a snap on my chatterbait, like a clip. So I will put an extra snap or one of those quick clips sometimes onto the snap that comes with the chatterbait because it allows that head to actually get even more range of motion. Sometimes it makes it have a little bit different action.
Yeah.
I did that with the Evo last year and I started catching, and that was, what it was is I literally was just swapping. Like this time of year I run snap swivels on my crankbaits a lot. It's just because I'm constantly changing colors until I find what they want, and I don't want to have to tie fucking 50 knots throughout the day, so I just throw a simple snap on there, and then I was like, you know what, I'm gonna throw my chatterbait, and I mean a cranking rod and a chatterbait rod are almost interchangeable to an extent. So like sometimes I'll just like, okay, I'm gonna try throwing my chatterbait on 4/0, and I just left the snap on there, and then I started catching fish, and then I tied it onto a regular straight to the, and I stopped catching as many, and I was like, I wonder if there's something to this like extra flip to it. Again, that is one of those things about fishing. It probably doesn't actually make a damn difference, but in my head it does.
In your brain.
And I fish it differently. Make a difference.
I think a lot of it is like it fishes differently. Like some guys like bear fishing. That kid fishes that freaking black and red shad dinger thing. And I will go up a bank with him, fun fishing, and we will be sitting there for an hour, both casting to the same stump, with the same bait, with the same hook. And he'll catch 4 fish and I'll catch no fish.
Right.
It's just, that's his confidence bait. At the same time, he's not going to grab the same color bait I am. Like, that's what's weird about, I mean, Chris can definitely attest to this because there was tournaments where I was 30 yards behind Chris going up and down the same bank he was going up and down. Like, we'll one of us will catch fish or one won't. And sometimes we're using the same techniques. Like, it's just, I think your confidence, that's why actually I've noticed, I don't know if you guys notice this, but like for me, and it's a weird, it's not even a technique. I literally will put on like a podcast on headphones or like zone out. And then I've noticed like when I truly like when I'm in search mode, right? Doing like reaction fishing, like cranking or chatterbait or whatever. If I'm not actually thinking about what I'm doing, like if I'm like, okay, I'm going to just cast a chatterbait and then I'm going, okay, I'm going to go over there to that log and throw a wacky rig after I get down this retrieve. I feel like I catch more fish when I'm distracted and not paying attention to my retrieve than when I'm like trying to focus on the proper way to do. Like if I zone out and just cast and reel and don't think about what I'm doing physically, mechanically, and I'm looking at the next spot, then all of a sudden I start catching. Like I literally will turn a podcast on sometimes and not retain a fucking thing that they're saying. But it's just that background noise gets me into a different headspace, and I just move around, and then all of a sudden I start catching fish constantly. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, when I throw a chatterbait, I will not, on every single cast, will be a different retrieve.
Yeah.
How I'm bringing it in. I'll pop it. I'll swing it. I'll drag it. Whatever. Every single one is different until I get a bite on a particular way that I'm getting it, and then I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm going to do the rest of them like that, and next thing you know, you've got a bag, and we're like, oh, okay, that's the pattern today.
I've said this before. Record yourself when you're fishing, even if you have no intentions on ever sharing it with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd be surprised how many times you catch a fish because you were scratching your ass, or you were picking your nose, or you coughed, or you reached back to turn your rudder control to turn your kayak a different direction, and then started reeling again and gave it a pump to start the bait back up. And like, you'll pick up little nuances and dumb things that you don't realize you're doing.
Just did that today. I was actually, I had my coffee next to me and threw my blade bait out there, and it was down on the bottom. I gave it a couple of small pumps, and then I reached down, picked up my coffee, took a sip, put it down, and then lifted back up, and I felt the weight, and I'm like, oh,
Yep.
hello. And then it
Yep.
gave me a little tug back, and I'm like, yep, there we go.
Yep. It's like, like things I've noticed is like what'll happen is I will check my phone.
Yep.
Like I'm fishing like a finesse bait. I casted it out, and because I took the time to pick my phone up from under my seat and put it back down, I let it soak a little bit longer. Or like the thing I noticed, which is something that you don't think about in a kayak, and I've noticed it a lot with the forward facing sonar, is you don't know how much waves affect the action of your retrieve too.
Mhm.
And you don't even really think about it because you're so used to bouncing, and you get like, I mean, I know you guys like fish as much as I do. Like there's days you sit in your truck and you get home and you're sitting on the couch watching TV and you're like, you still feel like you're out there, but you become like almost numb to it. But then when you watch your bait, like I literally was casting I think it was a wacky rig, and I was watching it, and I was imparting zero action in my rod, but I was watching my bait do this, and I realized, holy shit, yeah, every time I go up in a wave, every time I change direction, that bait is imparting action. So if you are cognizant about paying attention to like little things, like little hitches, little twitches, things like that, that's what the difference between like, you could literally get someone to manufacture 3 as identical as a human could make rod, reel, bait, line, and have all 3 of us fish it, and none of us will impart the same action on that bait. And that's what makes fishing cool, is that you have your own little nuances that work for you that don't work for someone else.
You see what Mike said? Coffee on the water. I like to roll the dice. Yes, I do.
Yeah, but to be fair, dude, your boat's kind of big enough. You could almost put like a fucking facility off of the front of it.
Oh, pretty much.
Space, so.
No, I think he was referring to how coffee affects our bellies at certain times.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And I have actually had to park my boat and go run off into the bushes.
So you know what I found out? Dude, there's lakes in California that have fucking floating bathrooms.
What? Come on.
They literally have.
Yeah, they do.
Boys would love that. Duck hunting, they would love that.
Basically, floating porta potties out there that you just go use.
That's crazy. My boys would love that. They would.
Dude, I don't eat when I fish for that reason.
I don't have a problem.
I literally have like 2 or so. This is what's weird too with like my team situation last year. Is I had bear fishing who will bring like fucking charcuterie board. Like that dude will bust out a turkey sandwich and make a sandwich on the water. One day he had like Tupperware and he was like eating like a pasta.
Oh, I would too. I absolutely would too.
I can't. If I eat food, I will be using that floating toilet within 20 minutes. It's just how my body operates. So I basically live off of water and Cliff Bars.
Get yourself some dude wipes and a small like tiny shovel, like a little gardening spade or something like that. And then when you got to go jump in the bushes, you can.
That's the problem, dude. Most of my lakes don't have bushes.
Oh.
Most of the lakes around me, Chris can attest to that. It's all private land.
Yeah, a lot of private
there
land.
is no woods. There is literally most of the lakes in this area. I will tell you right now, there is a pair of Reebok boxers at Chittenden Reservoir because there is woods there. But I don't want to talk about that situation. But there's a lot of lakes that just don't have like you're literally it's like Miles.
Hey,
Same think Miles Pond. That's literally what most of my lakes are like.
worst case scenario, you jump in the water
I've
and
done that.
yep, just do
Done
what
that.
you gotta do.
Yeah. I found it's just easier not to eat, and then I get the calorie deficit, and then I lose 80 pounds. That works out pretty good for me, anyways. But
Yeah.
except when you get back to the truck and you're doing this because your
Yep.
body is like. So I did find like I have certain foods that I can eat. Like a lot of it's energy bars and like Cliff bars and stuff that will sustain me to get me through. But
Yeah.
I'm
Packs
also
of
running
turkey.
on like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, and my body is a weird chemistry experiment that probably most people would probably die if they had even consumed a third of the caffeine content that I consume on a
Oh
daily
yeah,
basis.
I hear you. I I used to be so bad with Red Bulls, it was ridiculous.
I have ADHD, so like literally I take a 20 milligram Ritalin every morning, and I start my day with a 390 milligram pre-workout energy drink, and then I have 2 more monsters throughout the day. I have any given day I have like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine in my bloodstream. Like I swear like if they did an autopsy with me, it's just going to be Mountain Dew. It's not going to be actual blood that comes out of me. Like
Your blood's gonna be green like the Predators.
yeah, it's like literally if they like I actually honestly joke like if they could just create a safe dermal caffeine patch that I could just slap on my shoulder and just have it slowly infuse into my system, I would be fine.
You know what's really funny is um, part of my quitting smoking and quitting chewing and all that sort of stuff. I used to find myself smoking, chewing significantly less when I was on the water
Yep.
than I'd get back to the truck or something like that, and you just throw a dip in, and
See, I will say with caffeine for me is like I'll make an energy drink. Like I basically I'm using literally Rise pre-workout.
Mm.
So it's got like all kinds of shit in it, but it's got like 400 milligrams of caffeine. I will fill literally this cup.
You said
with that
Rise?
Rise, Ryse.
Yeah, they're the ones that do that mushroom coffee stuff.
They do that too, yeah. So theirs is, and before you guys slay me in the comments, theirs is better for you than some of them.
Mm.
There is some of them that are basically straight battery acid with caffeine in it. They at least put some things in there that are actually natural.
So they water down the battery acid?
Yeah, so I started doing those with water instead of getting the canned energy drinks because with canned energy drinks, you're just getting corn syrup and all that crap. So at least I'm getting a little bit of water. What I'm actually thinking about doing, I'm actually going to be trying to talk to them about potentially working with them as a partner for the channel too, is there's a company called LMNT. It's literally it's electrolytes. It's basically like I can't remember. It's 3 ingredients, but essentially it's just salt and potassium. It's essentially just, but they haven't unflavored. It's basically just the powder. So
Yes.
I'm gonna try it. I haven't quite done it yet. My boy Wolf of Walmart's actually working with them, and I was gonna talk to him about it. I'm gonna mix that with the energy drink so that I get the electrolytes to hold on to the water because I basically drink one energy drink and then switch to water for the rest of the day when I'm on the water.
Yep.
And the thing is, and before you roast me, I understand the pre-workout is dehydrating the piss out of me before I switch to water. But I literally have a half-gallon like water jug that I bring that I drink for the rest of the day. But
Yep.
like you said, that's one thing that I did learn about fishing is that I'm so hyper-focused on the fishing that I drink this, but I drink like probably half of it on the way to the lake, and then
Yep.
I get through the rest of it throughout the 8-hour day because I'm so focused on fishing that I don't stop to like chug that. And then I literally just take, like I said, I have a half-gallon like water jug that I just keep topping that back off with. So eventually it's just basically straight water by the end of the day.
Yep.
But you know what I miss, speaking of Monster Zero Sugar, is that Monster had a hydro, which was literally what I was talking about. It was Monster with electrolytes.
Oof.
It was good and the flavor was good, and you actually got like some benefit from having, because electrolytes are important when you're fishing. Like having salt to keep that water in you when it's 80 degrees in the middle of the lake, when it's not like the middle of the summertime, you can drink all the water you want, but if you don't have enough salt in your system to keep that water in you, it's gonna come right back out of you.
Yep.
And that's what I learned that the hard way. I literally drank 2 gallons one day fishing, and then I tell this story a lot, but I woke up in my fucking truck with my head on my steering wheel. I fished all day, packed my kayak up, and passed the fuck out in my truck.
Yeah.
Blacked out completely because I was so dehydrated that I didn't realize that I was even like moving anymore. And that's where you got to be. That's why I want to work with that company, because they have some flavors, but they also have the unflavored. And I'm thinking, since I'm already chugging water that I'm having flavor, and I can just mix that in and get it at the same time. But,
yeah, and that's why you should always bring salty type snacks with you when you go out on the water, like a beef jerky, chips, something that's going to help you maintain that electrolyte balance.
Yep.
So,
because you guys came here for health tips, right? That's what you guys came here for.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looking at me, and I don't know.
I mean,
hey, you're doing better now, though,
dude. It's you know what I noticed. The biggest thing I noticed, which is weird, is the pedaling. Like, I actually sit closer to my pedals now because I don't have this in the way.
Yeah.
So like, that's the only thing I don't like. I will say that's the only thing I don't like about the Titan X so far.
Yeah.
Where I put my battery is under my seat, which is a good spot. As far as weight distribution, the location of that is intelligent. What sucks about that is that where I sit as basically a 6-foot person, I have to undo my seat to get my battery in and out. Because I can't get that cover back off once I put my seat where I like to fish from.
Yeah.
So I actually have to, the only good thing is with that watt cycle battery is it lasts me 3 days, which basically I fish 3 days. So I basically charge it and I can leave it in there and then pull it at the end of the weekend. But that first day I have to slide the seat all the way forward, put the battery in, which I do at home, and then I drive to the lake, and then my ADHD kicks in, and I forget that I unlock the seat. Then I get in the seat, and I start pedaling, and I start moving back and forth because I'm sliding on a track. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to lock this seat down. So every single time it, like, gives me that, like, heart flutter because I go to pedal, and at first you're fine, and then you get that first wave, and then that seat shifts forward or backwards, and it freaks me out for a second. But it is... Because it's funny is I didn't realize like how far back I actually do sit, because I like to have more room in front of me.
Well, and the other difference is you're probably sitting a little higher in your new kayak.
Wicked compared to the Old Town, wicked high.
Yeah, and I just put inch. I think I'm an inch higher in the front and an inch and a half in the back, and I'm 2 or 3 holes back in my Old Town, just by that little bit of a difference.
So the height, dude, is actually a huge advantage because that kayak is weirdly stable.
Yeah, well, it's like 8 feet wide.
It's you know what's funny, dude, is it is, but it's different. Like it doesn't have the same primary stability like the Old Town, but it's like when I stand in it. Yes, I just said stand in it, guys.
That's cool.
I've actually stood up. I haven't fished standing up yet, and that's not because I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to stand up with 40-degree water right now.
Right. Now, you don't want that to be your first experience.
That's the whole thing is like I don't want to get used to standing in 40-degree water because that will be the time I fall in, and then I'm going to be in trouble. Because
this guy, you won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, dude, I know I looked at those, but that's a lot of boat.
It is a lot of boat, but it still fits in the back of my truck real easy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I just got the bed extender on there. I just toss it right in the back and good to go.
The funny part is yours is probably actually lighter than mine.
Probably even with all the gear loaded down because
Yeah.
it's so spread out over the entirety of the pontoons and the deck itself.
Yeah.
Like, so I got the 16 by 16 black pack plus the track pack on top, and then I have 8 of the smaller track packs, and then a first aid track pack.
How do you like that first aid track pack? I looked at that. Does it have, like, the problem I have with first aid kits is, like, when they make first aid kits, like, especially that one, which is kind of designed for fishing, half of the shit in there isn't going to be useful for fishing.
All right, so it's the basic stuff that you're going to need if you get cuts, and that sort of shit.
Yeah, I'm working on that, Michael Bradley, actually. Yeah, there's some definite crotch shots right now. I gotta get that camera a little higher.
Yeah. So, anyways, the it's just your basic first aid kit. But what's great about it is the fact that you could mount it anywhere. So, and it comes in a dry bag, so it's going to stay dry regardless. The problem with my first aid kit that I built myself was that the waterproof case that I had put it in didn't prevent it from getting moist inside there. So when the humidity messed with it, when I opened it up before going out, which was part of the reason why I ended up getting this new first aid track pack, I opened it up and like all the stuff in there was like moldy and rotted, and I was like, man, I've had this stuff for a year. It shouldn't be in this condition.
Yeah.
So
honestly, that's the thing about, like, to be honest, like, a first aid kit for fishing is basically like a lot of those first aid kits come with like little finger bandages. They really don't care about those.
Yeah.
Right.
I want gauze. I need
2x2 gauze. No.
Yeah. I need big gauze. I need some tape. I need quick clot in case I get like a pike gets me or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I need the tweezers might be handy if they weren't made out of like the chimsiest fucking plastic.
Yeah. But the good thing about it is, though, once you go through those supplies, you just put what you want in there, and you get it in the dry bag. True. And it's still in its own case. That being said, you're probably going to benefit from getting a good set of wire cutters for when you undoubtedly hook yourself.
Yep. I have those are in my kayak.
Oh yeah,
I buy good ones too. I buy like the spring loaded ones that like I can cut a 5/0 EWG hook if I need to.
Yep.
Because you got to be careful. Like, guys, you can buy diagonal cutters that'll only cut a drop shot hook, and then it's not going to do you any good if you get that 6XD treble hook in your hand.
My biggest issue has been the jerkbait hooks. Like my one. The Caswages, those, oh my god, those are they're so sticky, and you hook a pickerel and twice this has happened to me. Well, last year and the year before that, same location, same species of fish, and for whatever reason, I'm like, I knew better. I'm like, do not pick this fish up with your freaking bare hand. Just unhook it in the net. No, I'm like, oh, this guy isn't struggling that bad. I should be fine. Go to pick him up. And as soon as you do it, shakes, and the hook is in your finger, and you're like, you bastard.
The problem with a treble hook, or with a jerkbait, especially the 3-hook ones, even with pliers, if you don't have super long needle nose, sometimes you get the front hook out, and then the back hook gets you because you're popping the hooks are, and those hooks like especially like you say you mentioned a lot of like megabass. Those megabass hooks, those penetrate skin. Quick.
Yeah, they do. They look at your skin and they're stuck.
Those I've put a couple of those through my thumb. Like they're
not fun. Not fun.
Even some of the like 6 Sense ones too.
Oh yeah.
The smaller jerkbaits have those super thin wire hooks that just go right through.
Yep. And I tell you what though, that the first time I actually had to get off the water and have somebody help me cut the damn thing. and I went back out and finished the rest of the fishing trip before I
Oh, dude.
came
Yeah.
home. The
So-
second time it happened to me, I had to get off the water and get help. But when they finally cut it, this time I learned, because before I cut it too short. This time, when it was in my finger, I cut it so where I could actually grab the pliers and I forced it through and popped that sucker out. That is very painful, but once it was out, it's like, okay, that's not too bad.
Right.
I'll take your finger and raise you to a fat roll. I sat down and tucked a treble hook.
Oh, and you got it in the worst spot too, because you can't even reach
I
back
couldn't
there.
get it. I literally called my wife and I said, "Hey, I need you to come here." And she goes, "Okay." And then she came in and I said, "In my truck, in the center console, there's a pair of pliers with a weird little nub on the end. I need those." And she goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I have to take the split ring off of this crankbait." And she goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because the rest of it's in my hip." I had 2 of 3 trebles.
Oh.
And you couldn't even see the tips of them. So I literally had to go to the hospital because I couldn't get them far enough out of my skin.
Yep.
And she tried, but like there was this and it was the triple grip, so there's a very short shank on them.
Yep.
So they had to like literally take forceps and pop it out of my skin to cut the barb to pop it back. Dude, it fucking sucked. But dude, that the first time I ever had that happen, I literally had a fish. And that's the worst part is they're doing this.
Oh yeah.
Like they're on one hook and you're on the other hook and they're
I hate that.
freaking shaking you around.
Shaking.
But if you have good barb cutters, you can just cut that hook off, get your hand free, and then worry about the fish after. Because if I had literally had to that day, I didn't have barb cutters, dude. I had to take the split ring off with a freaking fish on the other side. I had to try to unhook the fish. Yeah. The thing is, I did both of these like a month apart.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will not anymore mess with a freaking pickerel with treble hooks with my bare hands. That sucker stays in that net, and I'm putting the pliers down there, and I'm working him free. I'm not touching him.
If you guys need an example of why I need a first aid kit, I've never made it 10 years before I needed another tetanus shot. It's never happened for me. I have done something that requires a tetanus shot. So,
oh man, actually, I don't even know if I'm due for my tetanus. Maybe.
Get a hook in you and go to the hospital. They give you a free one on the way out the door. Trust me.
Nice.
They don't even play. They're like, yeah, you got a fish hook. The thing is the tetanus isn't even something I'm not even as worried about the tetanus as I am whatever else is in that freaking water, dude.
Oh, seriously, what's in the water and then what's on those fish?
Oh, dude, like a pike.
Oh yeah.
You get like pike bit, dude.
Yeah.
That cut will be the most painfully sore, nasty looking cut. That's why I literally have lip grippers because of pike and pickerel. I don't net them. I put the freaking lip grippers on them and then I unhook them. I don't go anywhere near their mouth with my hands. It's just not happening.
I'll hold them, but I'll go in from the gills.
Yeah.
Go in that way, and that's how
I'll
I'll
be careful because their gills will cut you too.
Yeah. And they have that enzyme in their mouth too. They actually literally have an anticoagulant in their spit because that's how they kill. That's why you ever notice when a pike bites, they don't bite like a bass. They like nip. It's because they literally bite their bait, like their prey, and then they'll bleed out, and then they just go back and eat them.
Yeah. So my
bleed
like actually has a giant bite mark right in the belly where the pickerel and the pike keep hitting it. Yeah. And they always go for that belly shot too.
But yeah, guys, we're going on an hour and a half, and I want to get up and fish tomorrow. And Chris has got a vacation he's got to get to.
Nice.
So I'll definitely be back next week. I don't know if I'll have the not so co-host or one of the other co-hosts. We'll see who I end up getting on here. But I'm gonna work on a few guests too. I got some guys in the bait industry that I've talked to. I actually was talking to. So I found out the dude that owns Rabid lives like 30 minutes from my house.
Really? I didn't
Yeah,
know
he's
that.
he's right in Proctor.
Oh wow.
I had no idea. His shop apparently is right there. You know where I met him? He was working at Dick's Sporting Goods. I was literally like, he was like, you ever use these? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't had time to look at them. And then I realized after that was the dude that freaking owns Rabid. But I've got a few guys like that I want to get on. I'm actually gonna probably get Pete on at some point, and those guys. But for now, we're all gonna go fishing in the morning, and well, except Chris.
I'll be on the water.
He's gonna be near water and not able to fish,
No fishing
which
pole.
is like my hell. But
And that's what I'm saying too. But
you put me anywhere near water where I'm not allowed to fish.
This weekend, if it stays nice, I might tempt to go down to Maury and see what's going on.
Let me know.
I got news for you because I'm going to be on a cruise ship. It will be nice in Vermont. Just saying.
You know the irony, Chris? Actually, I'll end there, Chris and Jesse. You know what the irony about this is so Maury is like the kind of the mutual lake between me and Jesse. That's literally where I met Chris for the first time.
Yeah.
It was, and the thing is I kind of half-assed remembered it when I met Chris for the tournament.
Right.
When we started actually talking, is I was trying to start Slay Nation and met Chris at the boat ramp, and they were all packing. I think you guys were coming in to pack up as I was heading out.
Yeah, we were getting ready to go to the wedding.
Yeah, so literally I met him there, talked to him, gave him my business card, and then we didn't talk again for like a year, and then we met at the first tournament. Yeah. So, and that lake is special, dude. That lake is fun.
It's amazing. I mean, my sons, we got a 5-pound largie and a 5-pound smallmouth the day of Nick's wedding.
And that place is crazy because you can do that in the same freaking dock.
Almost. We probably were.
I mean, there's literally big fish like that cruising together on that lake.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. I think I know the spot that he's talking about too.
Oh, there's a couple. There's actually a section on that other end of the ramp where you can just play with topwater all day too.
Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't see. Well, one area we could have done that. We didn't. But.
And it was like you literally could just run like a chopo or a spook and just every like cast, it's just. Poof.
Oh yeah, you can definitely do that on a couple of the points we fished. Yeah.
Yeah, those points are real nice, and that camp there is a really special place too.
Yeah, that dock is interesting.
Oh my god! Talk about a wild. So I'll have to tell you that story when we get offline here because I don't want to give out too many secrets. But
all right, guys, we're gonna end it right here. Plus, the wife's at work and she's gonna get in trouble for watching videos all night. So we're gonna end this so she can't get in trouble. But we will be back next Thursday. I'm hopefully gonna tell you about all the fish I caught over the 3 days, and Chris is gonna tell you about how sad he is about all the fish I caught over the last 3 days.
Right.
So we're gonna end this right now, guys. But we will see you all in a week.